Emiliano and Norah is my camera person. Sorry, I can't correct the term for that. Today I'm gonna help with you how to write algebraic equations for the purpose of solving real life problems. This covers Common Core Math Standards 7EE.4, 7.EE.4, and E8.EE.7. The problem is Maria has scores of 96 and 78 on 3 tests. What must have her average score on the next 2 tests be in order for her to have an average of 90? Well, if to really understand the project, you have to understand what's his average. What average is, it's pretty much adding up all the numbers. So 96 plus 86, sorry, my 6 is sloppy, plus 86 plus 78, plus the next 2 values, So we're gonna and then divide it by the number of values they are. I'm gonna start off with writing the equation, which is gonna be 96 plus 86 plus 78 plus 2s and divided by 5. If you don't understand how I got that equation, I got the variable because I got the variable s because the s is gonna be the test scores. And the 96, 86, 78 represent the 3 test scores already done. 3. And the reason I put it gonna get it's gonna be divided by 5 is because we're finding the average. And to find the average, like I told you previously here, is to add them all up, everything all up and divide it by the number of things you added up. So that's why I put 5. So if you get confused because I should divide it by 4, no, I got confused by that too earlier, like in a different problem, but it's divided by 5 because 2s represents 2 test scores, and those 2 test scores are 2 different things because 2s equals s. I put an 8, I'm sorry. That's my problem. S plus S. So that's why you're dividing it by 5. So first, I'm going to start dividing it. I'm going to start with the solving of the equation. I'm going to write it down here so I have more room. So 96 plus 86 plus 78 plus 2s divided by 5. What I'm going to firstly do is multiply this equation by the inverse operations of the 5 is currently doing. The 5 is currently dividing, so if I want to take off the 5 to isolate the variable, I am gonna multiply it by 5 over 1. So it takes out the 5 that's being divisible. So it would equal to, now the equation equals to, wait, I forgot to put the equals 90. 90. So that's the equation. I messed up a little bit earlier, but this is the equation, but it has to be equal to 90. It has to be equal to 90 because that's what we're solving for, the average of 90. So since I multiplied that side by 5, this side by 5, I'm gonna have to multiply this side by 5. So multiplying this by 5. Which, if I could do mental math, which equals 450, because it's the same as multiplying it by 5 by 9 and adding the 0 at the end. And since on this side of the equation, a little earlier, it would be 96 plus 86 plus 78 plus 2s. And you don't have to put the divided by 5 because we already canceled that out with the inverse operations. So now I'm gonna have to subtract the 96, the 86 plus and the 78 from the 450. And because I don't want to do extra work by adding them all up together, by adding them not all out, by subtracting them separately each time, I'm just gonna end up just adding them separately. So 96 plus 86 equals 2 over 1. No, it equals 2 over 1. That is 180. Yeah, 182 plus 78 equals 9, which equals 260. Now, I'm going to replace the 260. I'm going to replace these three numbers with 2 equals 260. So I'm going to replace it. So it's still the same equation, but there's less terms, so it's easier to do with the steps. So now I'm gonna subtract the inverse of I'm gonna use the inverse operation of a positive that's equals addition by using a negative, which is equal to subtraction. So I'm subtracting it, which is 260 from both sides, and that would equal to 190. And if I'm gonna make sure I got that part correct, because I'm not always the best. 3. Yes, it's 190. I was correct the first time. Yes. So plus 2, and so now there's only the 2s and the 190. So now I'm gonna divide the 2 and from both sides, because if you don't understand, 2s is multiplication. It's s times 2, so it's 2 s's, like I showed right over here. So now what I'm gonna, so after I divide it, so now that only leaves me the s, and what the answer between 190 and 190 divided by 2. So I'm just gonna make sure I do that correct so I don't mess up. And there is a way to check this at the end of it, so you know for a fact you got it right. So 5 equals 10 minus equals 0. So the 190 divided by 2 equals 95. So that's what I'm gonna be using. So that's the equation. So that's the solution. S equals 95. If I'm gonna go through the checking process, so I know that I got it correct. So how you check it is that you do the same thing. You do the same thing as you did earlier, except that this time I'm gonna replace the 2s by the 295s, because there's 2 tests left. They're right here, like it says right here. So I'm gonna put 96 plus 86 plus 78 plus 95 plus 95 divided by 5. So what I'm gonna do is 90. Well, I already figured out how much this is added up to. It equals to 260. So I'm gonna go off from there, plus 95 plus 95. So 95 plus 95 equals 190. And now I'm gonna add 260 plus 190 equals 1 equals 5 and equals 450. And now I'm gonna divide the 450 divided by 5, and that would equals 90. And that is what the exam average should be. So the solution is 95. So both of the tests need to be 95. And that is it for today. And thank you to Nora for being the camera person. I can't find out a better way to say it, but